came to me after having lived on that block all my life. I decided to restore the station, Boonton, USA. The largest project was restoring the old building, where you can probably see the stained glass. Over 250 pieces of glass that were installed by me. The buildings were sandblasted. The new ceilings were put on. New roofs were put on the building. And a very good friend of mine, Ed Davio, was very helpful and with his ideas and all his help. He did an awful lot of work here. And I want to thank Ed Davio for all that he has done for me. This fountain was donated to me by Tom Nardi. I never did get to put his name on it, but it was very nice of him to donate that. And then we planted shrub around the outside of it to doll it up a little bit. Now the signs you see on the building, that the old railway agency signs, were the original signs that were there from back in the early 30s. These were returned to me when I was restoring the building by some fellow that didn't want to know for nothing. He says, I was told to bring these back to you and not to ask any questions, and they fit right in the same holes that they originally were in. I'd just like to show you some of Ed Davio's work. Ed came up with this idea of putting the old print type over the doorway, and his painting of the print shop gallery, and he redesigned this whole thing. At one time was a freight exit. They brought out the Railway Express freight from this opening. Okay, this was a banister I had to put up, so when I was putting it up, I decided to use some of the old railroad spikes as their the bars. I put a fire hydrant, a hose on the end, and on both ends. That gave it a little effect of a fire hose. Now back is 1820 Hearst. It was used up in the New England states. And as you can see, it's very small, because in the old days the people were much smaller than they are today. And I had a skeleton in there and a coffin. This is one of the original telephone booths. This was given to me by Bell's Telephone Company as a museum piece for my station. Also, over on this side here, we have one of the only things that were left in this station, which was completely vandalized, was an old DL&W Western Railroad safe. This is one of my ideas here that I was thinking about buying benches to put around the platform, and after removing the baggage racks from some of the cars, I felt that by turning them upside down we could make benches out of them by putting a plank across them, and it makes a beautiful bench. But they are baggage racks. I think I've made about 10 of them. Also, the flower pot, which I have 6 bathtubs. One was Mom's. When they threw it out, I salvaged it and using for flower pots now. So we have 6 of those around. These are a lot of memorabilia that I received from the C&J Railroad. The old hand cart with the iron wheels. It took a real man to push them around, even without barrels on them. This is the front of a sleigh that the town used to use in the wintertime to bury people with. and also used in the wintertime for little tours of Boonton by the townspeople. They'd get on their sleighs and travel all over Boonton singing carols. The rest of the stuff is an old marker light from the CNJ and a fire wagon that they kept in the yard in case of fire. They just pulled it to the closest fire extinguisher or the closest water so they could pump it up. Purchased 16 railroad cars from CNJ and Long Island Railroad. Most of our are from the Long Island Railroad. After purchasing the cars in Long Island, I was told that they'd have to be brought across the Hudson River, where they didn't have a track coming underneath that river. So that created a few problems for me and an expense. But we did get them floated across the Hudson and brought it into Hoboken. Looking to the west, you'll see the old freight house, also built in 1904 along with the station. Coming down this way is the canal bed, which was where our canal boats ran, the old Morris Canal. In the middle 1800s up till the early 1900s, that's how people from town and from the city all got their coal, their food, just by old canal boats, pulled by an old jackass. It would take, in the winter time, the water would freeze up and the boats would be there for all winter long. Right behind this white, this silver case here was the favorite hangout of all the tramp bums, railroad bums, tramps, railroad tramps, whatever you want to call them. This is where they'd hang out, and you'd come down here some nights and see as high as 30 of them. This was, of course, was during the Depression days, and they'd be cooking beans or making some coffee, and you could hear some pretty good stories from these fellas. This is a panoramic view of the station and the cars, and this is what the engineer sees as he pulls into Boonton. Overhead is our bridge, and there's still signs of the old steam engine underneath that bridge. You can see the black soot up there. That came off our steam engines. The steam engines used to pull right up here behind this green car and get their water. That was where the water tank was, and they'd fill up. Just about every train through would stop for water. This is one of the stairways leading from the platform up to the main, to our main street. It was the street entrance to the station for the commuters. There's one on either side of the track. Originally there was 4 tracks here. And started out with 2, then went to 4, and now it's back to 1. The one track is strictly a work track. It's only 2 miles long. It goes from Montville to Mountain Lakes, and it's used to pick up empty drums and bring in full tanks to Drew's and the chemical companies we have around here. This is shot a real panoramic view of actually the whole setup with of all my cars, 2 stations, the fencing, the new lighting. See if we can get the lighting of that we put up on the bridge. Oh, it's just a railroad signal. A red and a green tells you if there's a train on that track. If it's red, it tells you that train just passed that track. This has been here for as long as I can remember. This is a house where Mom and Pop lived, and all the rest of us kids. Had 4 brothers all commuting into New York. And that's something that I never did, nor did I ever like doing that. This is where we used to do a lot of playing on this lawn. In fact, that mulberry bush that you see in the middle there are the two mulberry bushes on Mom and Pop's yard are from the same tree that Pop broke the stems off and planted them across the street, and he grew two mulberry bushes from this tree. This is the westbound station, and was completely sandblasted and windows replaced and new ceiling and so forth, new roofs, and a new parking lot installed here, put in all new asphalt. And then I guess one of the most joyous days of my life was bringing this caboose in, and we brought it down Main Street and parked it right there. And that had to be one of the great days, seeing that come in. The flagpole you see came from our old post office, which was given to me by the postal government. This is an old baggage wagon. Was used for livestock. When livestock would come in by train, they'd put chickens or young cows, young calves, and just about any small animal. If somebody shipped a dog in, they would also keep it in here until a person came to pick them up. The car is an old a motor car, they called it. It has a Chevy engine in it, and it was used by the foreman and some of his helpers if they had two jobs going. They would put it on a track by hand and take it off by hand, and it was a quick way of getting from one spot to another when in an emergency. It's just some of the original spikes that I welded into this fencing. Well, they had a screw on them. They screwed them in. And some of the colored glass that you see is what I replaced in this building. If you would look up top here, there's a stained glass that came from our Methodist church in Boonton that was taken down, I think in 1976. And I received all the glass in that building, and I've put them in some prominent spots. As you can see, they're in the other building also. And the restaurant now has some lit up inside their restaurant. These buildings have all been painted, and the lights you see hanging on these poles were donated by Miss Pearl, a local woman that's been more than generous to me. It's the main entrance to the station on Myrtle Avenue side. Completely redecorated with wallpaper, painted red, new ceiling put in it. This is the old newspaper store. It's used by the original sign still stands there, the old Union News Company. It was run by the railroad. This little room on your left was just a closet where they kept their rock salt and shovels and brooms and so forth. Now serves as an office. And back this way was a Railway Express office. This also was redone and converted into another room. The brick floor was put in for effect only. It didn't need a floor, but we figured we could put a red floor in to make the entrance. This was donated by T-Ball. When he received it 25 years ago, he claimed it was 65 years old then. So that's quite a relic. Here's an old barber chair, just newly painted red. And this is the entrance to the toilet. The door was put in here, and this was actually an old coal bin. And here's the This is the where the coal come into this bin. I covered it up with a headlight from a diesel engine, and it showed the coal inside it. And the railroad delivered their own coal, so it would come right off the tracks down into this coal bin. Now, this coal bin was converted into restrooms. The ladies' restroom, which was the actual coal bin. This is the actual wall of the coal bin, which was cleaned off with Verithane. A mirror. These bronze signs came from the Episcopal Church on Main Street, which was demolished by the post office. And I happened to get those, along with the stained glass that was up there. These are old photographs that Mrs. Crum, after she died, that we received these pictures from Mrs. Crum, which they now decorate the restroom. This was the boiler room, which attached, of course, to the coal bin. Had a big pot-belly stove here, and that chimney went up here and up into the stack. It was all taken out, put all new units in. Verithane the old chimney. Stevie and I tiled. We did the whole room up, Stevie and I. Used the old toilets, doors from upstairs that originally were put in the 1904 station. These are the original toilet doors. And also made some more mirrors from the headlights. And up the baggage rack to give it the railroad effect. And used the lights from the CNJ coaches with the CNJ emblems on them for lighting. Very pretty restroom. Connects the east and westbound tracks with a tunnel. The tunnel was, of course, underneath the railroad track. And this was converted to look like a mine shaft, named after old Boonton. This was Boonton at one time was called Boontown, and that was named. That I named the mine after is the Boontown mine shaft. Ed Davio had laid all this out, and I built it. And I think between the both of us, it came out pretty damn nice. It's an old ore wagon that would bring the ore out of the mine. This is slag from our Boonton mine, from the Boonton smelter. They separated the rock from the ore, and this is called slag. This is a picture of the old iron workers that worked in these slag pits and the iron mills back in 1872. Very nice. The town gave that to me for the mine shaft. There's no mining pick here. That was donated to me. It's a real earth miner's pit. This is our simulated mine. This is screening with paper mache and also coated with fiberglass. This is now owned by Hambone Kelly. I just finished this past week putting air conditioning and heating in the building, and they completely renovated it. The new wallpaper, the electric fan. This is the stained glass that was donated by Tony Palazzo and his wife. Just a beautiful piece of glass here, and it really makes this bar real attractive. This table is the same table used by Mr. Esler when he used to send out his telegraph. The telegraph holes are still in the table. It's now used for a bar. The light that's hanging overhead is from that's from the old Episcopal Church on Main Street. That was ripped down by the post office. That's one of the lights that I was talking about. Also, there's two more underneath the bar. that gives the bar a real nice effect. This was the main entrance, and they took this and took the two doors out. They put a stage in, made a double-decker stage, and they enlarged it. And they put an emergency door in here on the left, the fire door, to replace the two doors that they took out from in here. This is a shot of the whole area, which I started in 1971, now 1978. People have called me crazy, and I guess maybe some of them are right, but I had to try it, and it's better to have tried and failed and not have tried at all, not knowing whether you would have succeeded or not. But it was something that had to be done, and I did it my way. And if it's a success, I have no one to blame for it but myself. And if it's a failure, I feel the same way about it, that I have no one to blame but myself. It's an original thing, the only thing like it in the country. I didn't copy it off anyone. It was just something that I dreamt of ever since I was a kid, born across the street, played here. And that's it. That's the station, Boonton, USA, 1978.